Good evening, everyone. Nice to see that there's people talking in the chat before I arrived. That's really feels really welcoming. I hope everyone's had a good weekend, and I see everyone's prepared, or some people are preparing for the 1st of May. It's the same here. A lot of people will take Friday off, and then they get a bit of a longer weekend. And I don't know if it's a tradition in other countries. I don't think so. In Sweden, it's a tradition that on the 1st of May, it's a holiday, so everyone goes out picnicking. We go out, into nature somewhere because spring starts usually around that time. And I think we're going to have good weather this year. So then people go out biking, or they take their cars and go out into the forest and have a, picnic, barbecue, something like that. Maybe I brought too much forward. It's people are talking about in the comment section how it's difficult to find friends when you're an adult. And I agree. It's so weird. Maybe not really, but it is strange because when you're younger, you just meet people all the time, everywhere. And I think school is a big part of it. There's just so many people you interact with, and you interact with them in a light, fun way with a common direction. I used to be in musicals and choirs and singing and stuff, and that was an amazing place to meet people because you worked on a project that you were all engaged in and that you cared about. And that kind of brings people together. Whereas when you're grown up, then especially if you have kids, it's kind of, life is quite different. And it's also different making friends, like male and female. It's difficult. And maybe that was also when you were younger. Yeah, I think I've always had more friends who were girls than male when I was younger. I think that shifted maybe later on, but I always had many, many friends who were female. But now it would be strange if I went out and met someone who was a woman and got really close to her as a friend. That would be kind of weird, I guess. Yeah, and it is difficult feeling lonely, I agree. Wife is your best friend that just stayed. Yeah. Are you dating, Nadja? Or am I understanding that correctly? And yes, I agree. I don't even know what dating would be like today. It sounds... I'm so happy I didn't have to do that. But I can imagine how it's more scary as a woman when you're opening up like that. It's because you're putting yourself out in a way that it's quite vulnerable. And there's a lot of weird... obviously there's weird women out as well, but it feels like there's more men that are strange. But the whole lonely part, Hey, Stephen. Before I left to become a monk, I had loads of friends. I had maybe 100 people I called friends that I met, like, every now and then. And it would be through choir or through other things like that, where I just kind of, met people. And I would be in clubs and doing things. And I just had so many people that I called friends that I would call up and regularly talk to. And I kept in contact while I was a monk, but then when I came back, unfortunately, I actually lost contact with a lot of people. So today, it's difficult. And I agree, like what you guys are saying, it is difficult to make new friends because people already have their social circles. I'm 47, and most people my age, they already have their social circles, and they kind of establish in those and letting someone else in, because if you have a group of people who hang out and do stuff, then you introduce another person. That's not always as easy as it was when you were younger. And loneliness is... When you have people around you the whole time who are nagging and asking for things the whole time, then it's all you ask for is loneliness. But then when you're alone, then loneliness is not nice either, of course. And it's different being lonely by choice and being lonely when you don't want to be lonely. Two very different things. Oh, I didn't see you there, Tim. Hey, Esperanza. And Jack also, of course, if I didn't say hi to you. But loneliness. I spent so much time alone when I was ordained that I'm very comfortable being alone. But being alone is not the same as being lonely, because lonely usually means you miss someone, or you want to be with some other people, but you're not. But when you choose to be alone, then you're not necessarily lonely. And but there's also a feeling of looking at that loneliness, how it kind of, there's maybe not just FOMO, but there's a feeling of, what if I'm missing out on this? I need to be around people, I need to do this. And then when you're not doing that, it feels, it hurts to be alone. I think I said hi to you, Stephen, or didn't I see you before? Maybe I missed that. I don't know. I'm just talking. I'm getting a cold also, so I'm feeling myself kind of slipping away a little bit. So if I ramble on, tell me to stop. I just find it so interesting to listen to everyone else. It's as I said, I'm really looking forward. After I'm done with taxes this week, then I really want to start with the other stuff, and really just getting those Zoom calls started, because I so want to hear people have discussions and like this. I'm looking forward to that. But right now it's just taxes. Oh my goodness, taxes are so boring, and it's such a hassle. There's so many small. I studied economics, and it's still difficult for me to make it work. And then now I'm selling services to people abroad, and then how does that work with VAT taxes? And then how does it work with if I buy something with that account where I have US dollars compared to Swedish kroners? And then there's all this stuff kind of. So but the good thing about it is that I can see all my expenses, and it's kind of scary to see how much money I've spent on equipment and other stuff and services. What's it saying? I felt extremely overstimulated these last few days. I can't seem to snap out of these intense binge, like eating non-stop fast food snacks. That is a really interesting concept, Mats, because I've changed my mind about that a lot. I used to think that it was more like you could really control that. Okay, I'm in one of these states and I can just, with the power of my mind, pull myself out of it. But what seems to happen is that there's just these kind of ebbs and flows to these things. And especially if I think I spoke about this a few times ago. There's these cycles that we go through called the jnanas. Oh yeah, I think it was last time we talked about jnanas, so the progression of enlightenment process in the Theravadan map, at least. And once you reach the first stage, you're in something called stream entry, and things just kind of roll through. And there are certain parts where things will be calm, and other parts where you will feel like you completely lost control, and other parts where you feel sad and lost, and other parts where you just feel perfectly fine. And you can do things to push yourself forward or stay in that state, but ultimately will just move. So what I notice is I get into these states as well, where like you said, I get overstimulated, and then I go, okay, now I'm overstimulated. Now I really need to just minimize what I consume, especially on the phone. The amount of things that I consume on my phone, that I look at, or that I read, or sounds and music. And sometimes I can enjoy having a podcast in the background, but then no, I have to cut all of those things off and just minimize it. But I also accepted that my mind is just overstimulated right now, because right now it's just difficult, and I don't fight that. I don't make myself feel bad. I don't judge myself. I don't even try to push myself out of it. I just minimize the things I know make that worse, which would be binge watching or doing things that I don't really want to. But I also do it sometimes because if I feel that it's too much, then I just watch something that's fine. And then sometimes it's the other way around, and I'm not affected by it at all, and I can watch as much as I like, and it just doesn't really affect me that much. So they seem to be these cycles, and knowing that like right now you're in one of those peaks, and knowing that it will take a few days, hours, maybe a week or two, or usually not more. Well, it depends on person to person. For me, those things go quite quickly. And then that will pass, and then you'll be calm, and then you'll come back into it again. And if you can see those cycles, they don't become as disruptive. I feel that when I'm that overstimulated, I can't make the healthy decision. Exactly. Yeah, you can't, because it's just difficult to do it. So you just do what you can to minimize it. but also be okay with not being able to. I have that with chocolate. My vice is for sure chocolate. I can just have this, okay, I need chocolate. I need something sweet. And then I just eat chocolate. And then I eat more. And then the way to stop it is usually eat so much that I just like, oh my goodness, I just can't stand more chocolate. Then I usually take a break. But I kind of need to get to that cliff, that edge. See, Stephen, how do you deal with extreme competitiveness in sports? Is this even a distortion? Competitiveness makes people strive to be better. So the problem is not really within competitiveness, there's this feeling that you need to get somewhere to be okay. Competitive doesn't sound bad, but when you take what that means, that usually means that you're really projecting forward. Like, I'm not okay here, but I need to win. So you push yourself to get over there where you win. And then you also have, in the way that you say that, competitive makes people strive to be better. And I'm all for improving yourself and becoming a happier, healthier person, and having physical health is absolutely a big part of that. It helps. But there's still this whole idea within that I will be better over there than I am here. So I am better when I win. That's kind of the underlying belief or assumption there. So again, there is nothing wrong with competing or trying to get better. The problem is that you feel bad when you lose and you feel good when you win. Like, that's the whole problem in it. I watch Formula One. It's one of the few sports I watch because my father used to watch that when I was a kid, like many, many years ago. And we've always cheered on Ferrari. It's just been, my father was a Ferrari fan. So I like it when they win, but I'm also perfectly fine when they're not. But I can never really get, he would sit in front of the team and like, no, he was like so upset when they did dumb choices or when they crashed or stuff like that. And I just cannot get that going because that's a distortion. So competitiveness, yes, it's absolutely detrimental to non-centricness or letting go of the sense of self. And what we're trying to do here is letting go of the idea that happiness or enjoyment of life is dependent on your life story and not just on this moment, but what it actually feels like to be without the pressure of being something or someone. And from that perspective, then yes, competitiveness takes that away. Now, as I say that, I really want to point out, don't stop being competitive, because if you stop doing that because you're like, okay, yeah, I'm trying to get rid of my sense of self, so I shouldn't do this stuff. This is bad. I shouldn't. No, that's denial. That's not looking. What you should do is be competitive and see, how does that feel? Can you feel how that actually hurts you when you feel that, well, I need to get there, and you fight, you push so hard to get over there. If you can feel all that distortion inside of you, then you can see that it's not a good thing to do. And then you can let go of the part and still run fast. I mean, I'm just saying run fast as in a race. Does that make sense? Let's see. Jack, the jungle is always there if life is getting too much for one. Siddhartha had a wife, a kid, and a palace full service, and he just left in the night and went homeless with his usher. Yeah, that's an option for some people. Mats, I do that as well. I used to eat the 300-gram Milka Oreo chocolate bars in one sitting. Feel sick, don't eat chocolate for the next 2 weeks. Exactly, you get it. Like, we have something called, is it called small godis? We call it small godis. It's like you have, in Sweden, you have these big shells with just small candy, and you go around with a scoop, and you put it in a bag, kind of. And that's a good way to get tired of sugar. Nadia, milk is one of my favorite chocolates. I can't just stop eating chocolate when I start. Yeah, chocolate is good. I really like a bit. I'm not as fond of the really sweet chocolates anymore because they're just so incredibly sweet. But and especially if you eat a lot of them, then they just taste like fat and sugar. But really good chocolate has a lot more flavor to it. So yeah, it all comes down to are you enjoying your life? I mean, that's really what it is. If you're doing something that is making you not enjoy life now, then that's probably not a good thing to do. again, that doesn't mean you shouldn't strive. I don't enjoy doing taxes, but I still have to do my taxes, because I know if I don't do the taxes, if I don't do my declaration, is it called declaration? The thing at the end of the year, we do that in the 2nd of May in Sweden, you have to turn it in. If I don't do that, then there will be consequences, which will be that the government will come and say like, hey, you didn't do your taxes, you need to pay an extra fee, and I can't just skip that. I have to do that. So if I want to run a company, I have to do this. So that doesn't mean you're not sometimes forced into doing things that you don't enjoy doing. But then it would be about learning how to actually enjoy doing it. So I am finding things within this that actually is enjoyable. Looking at, as I said, looking at all the expenses I've had since I started this. Well, I have to run this as a company since I get money when I do coaching or when people donate. I have to pay taxes on that. And to do that, I have to also show everything I buy and everything I earn. And the good thing about it is it makes it really clear when you see for a year how much money you spend on small. It's just like $15 here or $50 here or a little bit here, a little bit there. And then when that adds up after a year, like I have some services and it's just for Zoom, I think it's, I don't know, like $160 per year or something like that. It's quite a lot of money, just to have the ability to have Zoom calls that are longer than 45 minutes. So all of those things kind of add up, and finding the things within the things that are difficult that you enjoy doing is important. So it's the same with sport or feeling lonely. I mean, seeing that in loneliness, that is a feeling that can be difficult to overcome. And it is a story that I am lonely, that there's a story of my life. And right now I am feeling lonely for some reason. Maybe I'm just home alone right now because my family and friends are away. Maybe I don't have a family and friends and I feel lonely. I mean, that depends. But the loneliness can also be the thing that drives you. I always had, when I was younger, after I broke up with a girlfriend, that was the time when I made the most friends and was the most social and active. And because I had all this love that I had been giving to one person, and now I give it to everyone instead. So there's always things that kind of come from these difficulties as well. LN, what are your thoughts on pet euthanasia? Do you mean euthanasia? As in killing, what do you call it? Euthanasia is when you kill someone who's sick. Kill someone. When they say, I want to die because I'm too sick, then you do euthanasia. I think that's what you're saying. Yeah, I mean, if you're coming, Ellen, by the way, nice to have you here. If you're coming at this as a Buddhist, then there will be lots of things to unpack. I'm just coming at this as a person, and if I had a pet who was suffering and who was in pain and who just wasn't living a good life and we couldn't take care of them, then I personally wouldn't have a problem with that. I cannot tell you what you should do about that, and my belief about that shouldn't in any way guide you on what to do, because that's a thing that you have to decide upon. Now, if you believe that there is consequences in the afterlife from doing that, then you should take actions that reflect that. I mean, that could be that you say, actually, it's kind to the animal to kill it, because then you're doing it a service. I remember one time when I was 16, I was driving a motorcycle, and there was a rabbit or a hare that was hit by a car, and it just looked like this, and it flew fur everywhere, and the rabbit just flew up in the air. And I stopped my motorcycle and walked up, and he was lying there with like a crushed skull. The eye had popped out, and there's blood and nose everywhere, and he was shaking like this. It looked absolutely terrible. Oh my goodness, that was difficult to look at. And that rabbit or hare, I can't remember which one it was gonna die. I mean, absolutely, there was no way that it would survive. So I took up a stone and I threw the stone at the rabbit to kill it. So in a way, that would be euthanasia. I thought so. That would basically be me doing euthanasia on that rabbit. It was so difficult because I couldn't look at it and do it at the same time. It was just too much. So I think it took like 4 or 5 tries before I actually hit it. But that was the reason I didn't feel bad for doing that. I felt bad because I didn't it was difficult to look at. It was quite graphic. So, like I said, you shouldn't listen to me or anyone else about what to do with your pet. That's your choice, and you have to decide what you believe. I mean, I would just sit down and write down. As I said, if you believe in karma and somehow that there would be negative after effects from this, if that's what you're asking, or something like that, then don't do it. But if you're okay with it and you don't feel anything bad about it and you think it's an okay choice to do, then make that choice and let it go. Because the problem we do is we will have a dilemma like that, and we think, oh, I should or I shouldn't. And then you do it, and then like, oh, maybe it was wrong, and like, oh my goodness, I feel so bad now. So really think it through what you believe, and like, you shouldn't listen to me or anyone else. I mean, I can just tell you my beliefs, and I would say that, yeah, depending on what the reason is. If you just go bored of a cat, then I mean, say you have a cat and you had it for a year or two, and then like, yeah, I'm kind of bored of it now, I'm just going to kill it. I mean, I wouldn't do that because I would feel that that is wrong. I mean, I don't think that's okay. For me, if you would do that, yeah, I mean, I wouldn't agree with it, but it's not my choice to make. That's your choice to make. I can't force you what to do there, even though I think that is wrong. If you have a cat that is sick and that is going to die and is not healthy, then I would do that. Do euthanasia, I would be okay, but you might not be. So I mean, it's just my thoughts about this. And anything anyone else says to you, there's going to be, whatever you do, you're going to find millions of people who say either or. So you just choose what you believe is the right thing to do. Jack, there are no taxes in the Sri Lankan jungle. No, exactly. Not much money either. Stephen, do you think as a Buddhist monk you can build a stronger sense of self because of all the traditions, and you also identify as a monk? Absolutely. This is one of the biggest issues I have with monasticisms and Buddhism in general, that I believe that some of the practices and things you do actually creates a stronger sense of self than you had before. Now, many of the people who do that probably had a strong sense of self before, so it's not like they came in with nothing. If you had a very low sense of self, then very likely you would see that the exercises and the identity you have is not to make you feel stronger you, but it can definitely make that the case. Yeah, you're welcome, Helen. As I said, when it comes to those things, I had so much. One of the advantages when I was ordained was that I traveled between Asia and Europe. In Europe, I had Plum Village during the summers, which was a Mahayana tradition with much more focus and emphasis on enjoying people and the environment and just enjoying being here. Not quite as far as I take it, with not actually enjoying your life story, but really the life experience through your senses is what I talk about. But there were more towards that than Theravadan Buddhism, which focused really heavily on rejecting everything around you and just focusing on the meditation. You should not be defiled by the impurities of the world around. You should not be attached. You should be detached, which is something I disagree with. So I moved between these worlds, and if I would tell the people in Sri Lanka, when I told the people in Sri Lanka what I did there, they were like, well, that's nice, but that's crazy. That's not Buddhism. What on earth are they doing? When I told people there about how we sat 15 hours or 10 hours per day in the Theravadan centers, they were like, oh, well, that's the most selfish thing I've heard. What kind of an idiot would do that? It's really dumb. That's not enlightenment. So they both said that the other one was wrong. And these people thought their teacher was basically the Buddha reincarnated and reborn. And then these people thought that their teacher was an enlightened being. So it's, I mean, and they would say, if you say that, you're saying that our teacher is, are you saying against this master? Are you saying that he's wrong? Like, well, there is a billion people over here who are saying that he is. But there's also a billion people here saying they're wrong. Maybe not a billion, but millions upon millions of people saying that they're wrong. And so then I had the advantage of being in the middle, going like, well, I mean, I don't know. Like, I can see that this is a really good way to practice like this in certain cases. And I can see this is an absolutely amazing way to practice in certain cases. So just, I mean, they're not right or wrong like that. But if I would listen to one of them, then I would have to make one of them wrong. Same thing with euthanasia on cats, like, or animals, that then you'd have to listen. You have to decide. I think there are some things that is, I mean, being cruel and hurting animals for fun, that I strongly disagree with. And that is actually legal in most countries, fortunately, because that, yeah. So then we're getting into something else. Stephen, is it wrong to be a monk not for all the traditions, but for solely on working on resolving distortion? I mean, that's what I did. I was a Buddhist monk, but I was never really a Buddhist. And I was quite open with that when people asked me also. I said, like, I'm not a Buddhist monk because of Buddhism. I'm a Buddhist monk because I like meditation. I didn't quite understand how distortions worked and how the sense of self is actually created by this tension that we create with wanting to be something. So if you want to be a good monk, that is creating tension. If you want to be better at meditation, that is creating tension. The dilemma is that you actually need to want to be better. No, not want, but you need to become better at observing what's happening inside of you, so that you can then observe your senses. And like, so they all hang together, but it's so easy to get lost in this and believe that what's happening on the outside is the most important thing, that I need to show that I'm a good Buddhist. How good I sing the chants during the puja. They had 3 times per day we had puja, so people would come and we would chant songs and like these holy scriptures, and like how good you chanted it was something. Oh, people, oh, it's so Buddhist, so spiritual, such a math, and beautiful the way they're singing. Like, that's nothing, absolutely nothing to do with letting go of the sense of self. Yet for some people, that's how they identify, and walking a certain way and behaving very monkishly, and like it's, yeah, that part completely has nothing to do with what we're talking about here. If you want to talk about being a good Buddhist, about being reborn, like, I have no idea, that might be a really good thing to do, but from the perspective of being liberated from the sense of self, from this pressure that makes it so that you can feel overwhelmed, that makes it so that you can feel suffering, that you can feel that you're being lonely, that you can feel that you're going through obsessive behavior, like all of those things are related because they all relate to this self. When there's not a sense of self, those things disappear. They don't exist. They just don't exist. Problem is that it's quite difficult to let go of it all at one time, and we all have different things that we hold on to stronger than others. I have my things that I'm working on, and some things are coming up every now and then, and they seem to come in waves, and there's a lot, and there's not so much. Yeah. Stephen, will they care? Oh, if you're, if you're serious about practicing, I don't think so. If you would say for working on resolving distortions, then they probably wouldn't understand what you meant. So then they probably say, yeah, it sounds weird. But if you said that, as I did, like I'm a monk because I want to meditate, I want to discover how my mind works, and they could see that I went to all these centers that had really strict rules, and most of the monks I met never did that. Most of the monks in Sri Lanka said, I don't have time to meditate because we're so busy with all the monk stuff we have to do, so I don't have time to meditate. Like, I'm like, what? Why? But since they saw me doing that, then they had no problem with me going away, because that's something that they value highly in that tradition. In the Plum Village tradition, they don't value that highly. They actually think that that's a bad thing and a selfish thing. Some people say that you go crazy by doing that, which you can temporarily go crazy when you meditate too much. So, no, depending on how you say it, then I don't see that there would be a problem. Nadia, are you happy to share what you are working on in yourself? Yeah, I mean, I have time. When I'm doing one thing and I need to stop that to do something else, that's something that create a lot of stress within me, and that I think that comes from the burnout, that my mind cannot shift as quickly as I could before. So if I'm doing something and then my fiance asks for something, or one of my children wants me to do something else, and if you have children, you know that they always ask you to do something else. That can be extremely difficult for me. Another thing is money and unfairness. So when someone tries to cheat you or someone else, especially when it's someone trying to cheat me or someone close to me, that is something that I have a difficult time with, and which ironically in one way got worse while I was a monk, because as a monk I didn't have a big following that were supporting me when I traveled, so I had a small amount of money that I could pay for plane tickets or things I needed, and people would sometimes donate money for me so that I can do that. But I had very little money to move around with, and I lived at centers where I had no costs, so I didn't need much money. But that meant that I had to really be careful with what I did with money, and that has kind of carried over until now. So I'm quite restrictive about, I guess, money in general. And then also I think I can get irritated at things. When I get irritated at things, they last long. My fiance, when she gets irritated, she goes, and she's like, holy moly, and she just explodes. And then it lasts for a few hours or a day or two, and then it's over. For me, it's kind of like, oh, wait a minute, what was that? And then it's kind of like carrying on a little bit, and then it doesn't quite go to that, but it takes me longer to go through it. And it can take time before I get through those things. Fortunately, one of the good things is that I'm good at not letting my bad mood ruin everyone else's mood around me. Of course, it still affects me at them, and they can see when I pull back. But I'm quite aware of how I have when I'm in a bad state, and then I know that when I'm feeling like this and I'm distorting a lot, then I don't make any choices. I try to not have any deep discussions or try to not discuss the things that's difficult, because I try to always move towards feeling less distortion before I solve the problem. I find it more important to solve my distortion than solving the problem, if that makes sense. Stephen, if a former monk still has things to work on, there is no hope for me. And the thing is, it's kind of, this is why people, oh my goodness, there's so much to work on. I meet people so often, they go through things and like, I had this revelation and kind of, I'm over this now and I'm enlightened. I'm going, you have no idea how much you have left. And that's the thing. It's kind of, it starts with like so much stuff. And then you kind of work away the stuff, and there's easier things that go away. And then you get to the big things, and the big things, I think it's probably like, there's less than a handful of things that I have left that I would say like, these are big things that I look at. And they don't really come up all the time. Before I would have them running my life the whole time. Now they don't. So a lot has changed. But absolutely those things are there. And then, as I said, as you work on that and dismantle, then you see that, ultimately what it is about is letting go of control, which is scary. Letting go of control that reality is going to turn out a certain way, because control is ultimately what the self wants. It wants to be in control. I want to win. I want to not be lonely. I want to stop my overindulging in chocolate. I want to not feel like, we want to be in control. And when you don't try to control the world, and you kind of go, this is why I always, when we do meditations, I try to do this, like widen up, so you don't feel so dense, so tight. We try to just let go and just be. And like, who would I be? What would happen if I didn't control myself, if I didn't control these things? And we don't know what it's like to live, because we are motivated by, I feel jealousy, so then I let the jealousy control me. But what if I didn't feel jealousy? Then you would never act out from jealousy. So you wouldn't need to hold back on who you are, if that makes sense. Nadia, it feels sad when you don't have normal human connection. It does. And I have that sometimes. This is what causes my loneliness. I have that as well. Like I said, I had so many friends before. And unfortunately, because of certain reasons, when I go back to Sweden, I just didn't get back in contact with all of them. And I feel sad sometimes, because I used to have loads of people I could just call up and have a phone call. And I love talking on the phone. I can be on the phone for hours. I mean, if you've been on the phone, a Zoom call with me, you know that I like talking, because I like connecting with people. I like hearing what people think about what they feel and how they're doing. And I like to understand people. I find it really, I like people, and I find people's personalities interesting, and seeing how they function, how they work. And I have, my mind kind of sees patterns in people, how they behave and what they do. And so I enjoy that. And there's a sadness to not having as many friends as I did before. So I understand that. Yeah, yeah, exactly. Yeah, Mats and I think we spoke for, I was it, yeah, like 3 hours. I don't know. It was a long time. And like now, if we're gonna finish by now 9, I think we need to start the meditation. My throat is starting to. I'm getting a cold. Everyone in my family has had. My daughter, she had 39.9 in fever and was sick for a week and a half. And then my fiance got an infection and is bad as well. And my son now got it. And I thought, oh, is this going to be the first time when I don't get sick and everyone else? And then I felt yesterday that it started tingling, and now I'm starting to feel it here. So we'll see how Thursday goes. If I get as bad as they did, then maybe, unfortunately, we'll have to cancel Thursday. But I'm hoping it's just going to be a light cold that goes through. But if I don't talk too much during the guided meditation, that's fine. So let's do for those of you who are new, what we do normally is we chat like this a bit before. Then we have the 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 method, which is a way of bringing yourself back to your senses. Today we're going to do it just a bit faster than normally. And then after that, we sit for 20 minutes. Today is Monday, so that means it's a guided meditation. And then we try to finish at 9 o'clock, which we won't be able to do today. So afterwards, we just say thank you and good night. Oops, sorry. So for the 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 method, what we do is we say out loud 5 things we can see, 4 things we can feel, 3 things that we can hear, 2 things we can smell, and 1 thing that we can taste. The whole idea is to not just say them, but actually be aware of the things you're saying. So just being aware of what you're seeing and what you're hearing and all the things that are happening. So I say out aloud, and you can say the things you see at your end. So I see, and not just saying what you see, we're trying to see the details of what we see. So I see a throat pill jar, a tube. And I can see this, I can see the reflections, I can see the colors, the texture, the surface. I can see the light changing on it, and I can see the texture on it and the different materials. I really try to see it as an infant who doesn't understand, being a bit, I don't want to say dumb, but being a bit as if though you're not feeling, oh, I know what this is this medicine, blah, blah, blah. No, we're really trying to just see it as it is. So I see this tube. I see a fire extinguisher, a big fire extinguisher. Lots of reflections. I see a Buddha statue. I can see another pair of glasses. And I can see the remote for my air conditioner. Those are 5 things that I could see. Next, we take 4 things we can feel. This is a great exercise if you're sitting alone, or if you're with someone who's having a panic attack or is just feeling mentally really bad. If you just do this with them, especially if you're doing someone else, it really brings you back, and it helps calm down anxiety and just feeling so completely lost in our thoughts, because you have to focus on what you're seeing. The next we take 4 things that we can feel. I can feel this plastic, this is a cutting board from IKEA. So much surface, and I can feel the other surface. Very different. Nice. I can feel the carpet on the floor. I can feel this thermos, also metal. Very different feeling from the pills. And I can feel an itch here. Those are 4 things that I can feel. Next we take 3 things that we can hear. I can hear the wind outside. I can hear a passing car. I can hear there's some plastic outside flapping on the office. Next we take two things that we can smell. I can smell the stuffiness in this room. It's warm. I can smell, I have a smell of getting a cold that smells a certain way. Finally, we take one thing that we can taste. I have a similar taste to the smell of having a cold. You know, it tastes a little bit yucky, like it's there's a cold coming. So I want you to start focusing on your breath as it feels when it comes into your body. We don't need to focus on any particular area. We don't need to feel every single nuance. We're just trying to be aware of breath happening as you're breathing in and breathing out. What we're trying to do is to train our awareness of our senses. In other words, it's not really that you need to feel in minute detail what the breath feels like. It's more that when you merge with your senses and become one with whatever it is that you're feeling without the barrier of the self coming in the way, then you just feel like there's breath happening. It's almost like a feel expanding and contracting, and it's effortless. There's no effort in it. There's no controlling. We're not trying to control the breath, trying to make the breath do something, or trying to move the breath in a specific way. Instead, this is all about relaxing and calming down and just being aware of breath happening. The only way you can really fail at this is if you try to do something. In fact, if you try to fail by not doing anything, I think that's the best way to do it. The effortless way. Now, it's difficult when you sit down because you'll carry with you all of the thoughts of things that you think should be a certain way, or how you believe other people are experiencing this meditation, or how you experienced it last time. But maybe you're not feeling the same way this time, because maybe this time you'll notice that there's a really uncomfortable feeling inside of you. That feeling could be just a vague, trembling feeling, a wave that's moving through you that feels really uncomfortable, that you cannot give a specific name. It just feels bad. And we tend to label that general anxiety. Or it could be really specific, and you can feel how you want something so badly, or craving for something or someone. Or that could be, like we were talking about, the feeling of being alone, or feeling like you should be somewhere else. It could be the feeling of you having been betrayed by someone, or someone treating you in a way that is not fair. And when we have feelings like that, it makes it difficult to just be with our senses, because there's this thing in the way. And we quite often confuse that difficult feeling with being our senses. But that's not actually your senses. That is the distortion. That is the pressure that you feel from the pure being that is inside of you, the pureness of just being here. And the senses which show you what is around you. The pressure you feel in between, that is that general anxiety, that loneliness, that pressure, that feeling of wanting to be somewhere else, the desire or the aversion, whatever it is. And that's what we identify with. That's what we call us. That's where you feel that you reside. The reason that we try to observe the breath without controlling it is because letting go of control is exactly what you need to do to let go of the general anxiety or the distortion that you're feeling. Accepting that things are as they are. And right now I am just simply observing what my senses are showing me. And I don't need to control anything that happened before. I don't need to control anything that will happen after. I don't even need to control what's happening now. All I need to do now, the only thing this exercise is about, is to observe what's happening as you breathe in and you breathe out. Just let go. No need to control. If you find that it's difficult to observe your breath, then you can focus on the lights that we see behind our closed eyelids when we sit down. There's always some kind of movement, some kind of color, some kind of pattern. Don't engage with it too closely, just let it be there and observe what it's showing you. Without interpreting, without making it good or bad, just seeing what's there. For some people it might be easier to observe the sounds that we hear on our ears. If you listen to your ears, you'll hear that there's always a kind of, maybe not tinnitus, but a sound that's always there. There's always going to be some kind of input to your ears that you can observe. There are many ways to meditate, but just do the thing that works for you. The simple thing, nothing complicated. There's no need to do any advanced things. We're just learning to be okay with being without control, without needing to go somewhere, without needing to be someone, without needing to find our purpose, without needing to find our path, without needing to become successful. Just learning to enjoying being. And as you sit there and just let breath happen, feel that it's okay. It's okay whatever happened before. It's okay what happened after. It's even okay what's happening now. And allow yourself these few minutes, just 20 minutes, where you're going to sit and just observe the breath. All you need to do. To make it easier, we'll do the exercise where we count our breath from 1 to 8 and then down again from 8 to 1. I will do it with you one time and then you can do it by yourself. So breathing in and out. 1. In and out. 2. In and out. 3. In and out. 4. In and out. 5. In and out. 6. In and out. 7. In in and out. 6, in and out. 5, in and out. 4, in and out. 3, in and out. 2, in and out. 1. Now keep counting your breath from 1 to 8, and then down again from 8 to 1 as you breathe in and out. 1, in and out. as you're sitting there observing your breath, observing the field moving as you're breathing in or out. Or perhaps you're watching the lights that happen behind your closed eyelids. Or maybe even listening to the sounds that are coming through your ears. Whatever it is that you're focusing on, realize that the best way to become better at being aware of your senses, and one way to become better at meditating, is to be kind and accepting to yourself, is to be okay with whatever it is that is happening. If you in this meditation aren't feeling anything, if everything feels off, if everything feels wrong, if it's a pain to focus on your breath, which it is sometimes, no matter how hard you try or how much you do your techniques to let go, it still hurts when you observe something as simple as your breath. Realize that that is not you. That is just a feeling inside your body and it cannot hurt you. Accepting what is and accepting that it's okay. When you fight it, you make it worse. When you push against it, you give it strength. Just let go and surrender control and be okay with being. Rest in the breath. Rest with the lights you see behind your eyes. Rest what it is, the sounds you're hearing through your ears. Feel safe. Feel okay. Feel accepting towards yourself. You cannot really fail at this, just as you cannot really succeed. We're just trying to be with our inner being, the feeling of being here. We're focusing on what our senses are showing us without the interpretation, without the pressure, without all these feelings of distortion coming in between. And just feeling the lightness of being, which is effortless, which is highly enjoyable. So be kind to yourself and allow that warmth that comes from the chest that we feel when everything is okay. Just allow that to rise up. Don't go in and struggle and try to fight with whatever it is that is happening. Instead, just let go. And if it becomes too much, just open your eyes. It's okay. You don't need to finish the meditation. There is not a competition. There's no golden star at the end. No one's going to tell you you're doing poorly if you stop and break the meditation. Just do the best you can and be okay with that. And just observe as you're breathing in and out. 1, in and out. Thank you, everyone, for a nice sitting. JVB, one of these days, would you mind giving us a tour of your room? I really like the setup. I will. I will have to clean up here a little bit first, but I would love to do that. I will have to work on getting the Discord forum up, because then it would be much easier for you guys to connect with each other and just, randomly pop into conversations. I'm sure there's ways of doing that easily. I'm not sure how it works here. But I'm grateful that everyone is here, and I thank you for a really nice sitting that I needed as well. Like I said, there's been lots of work this week, so I'm looking forward to Thursday, and I hope you all have a great week. Thank you.